Welcome back, focused learners, to another explainer. Today, we're doing something, well, kind of different, something incredibly precise. We're going to take exactly 14 words, literally a single sentence, and put them under a microscope. That's it, just 14 words. But within this profoundly concentrated piece of text lies the ultimate framework for human risk management. We're going to look at this quote not just as philosophers, but like actuaries. We're going to do a deep interdisciplinary deconstruction of this maxim, pulling it apart word by word to assess exactly how it balances short-term volatility against long-term sustainability. So get ready, because we are about to extract an entire actuarial masterclass from just one sentence.
Okay, let's dive into this. Start by asking yourself, can you actually be in two places at once? I mean, physically, obviously not, but practically? Temporally? Can you be totally consumed by immediate, short-term survival, managing the burning realities of today, while at the exact same time running a massive predictive model for an infinite, boundless future? It sounds impossible, right? It sounds like a total contradiction. But as we're going to see, the text we're examining today doesn't just ask us to casually consider this ultimate tension. It demands that we literally embody it.
So here are those 14 words. I'm going to read them slowly, and I want you to look at this not just as nice poetry, but as a highly complex equation. Just let it sit heavily in your mind for a second. Absorb it completely before we tear it apart. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Notice how beautifully this splits our human existence into two completely distinct risk profiles. On one side, we've got a directive for short-tail risk, immediate mortality, and on the other, a directive for long-tail risk, eternal sustainability. It's this brilliant A versus B paradox. It shows us that the text is built on a hinge, basically acting as a mirror reflecting absolute extremes. It isn't just giving us one simple piece of advice, it's giving us an impossible paradox, telling us to execute two completely conflicting risk management strategies simultaneously. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how aggressively the text separates our primary actions: live versus learn. In our day-to-day routines, we casually lump these concepts together, right? We think of living and learning as this one big blended experience. But here, they are set up almost as rivals. It positions living as the ultimate immediate risk assessment, being 100% present in the volatility of the now, and it sets up learning as the ultimate long-term predictive model, investing incredibly deeply in whatever comes next. Let's move to the next structural contrast embedded right here in these words: die versus live. In that first clause, the text literally weaponizes sudden, catastrophic loss. It brings our own mortality right up to our front doorstep. But then, in the very next breath, the second clause demands we act as if our timeline has zero endpoint. We're forced to hold the terrifying reality of our inevitable end in one hand and the liberating fantasy of an endless existence in the other. We are balancing maximum immediate stakes with a calm, eternal horizon. Let's zoom in entirely on the urgency of that first half: tomorrow. I really want you to reflect on the absolute crushing finality of that concept in the context of this quote. Tomorrow represents a 100% probability of an immediate stopping point. From a risk perspective, this absolute finality strips away every single ounce of hesitation. It means whatever you were putting off, whatever joy you were delaying, whatever truth you were hiding, absolutely none of it survives this filter. It forces immediate presence and demands we manage the severe risk of unlived potential today. And then we breathe. We shift to the very last word of the text: forever. Notice how the mental space completely changes here. The ticking clock just vanishes. We enter this expansive, totally unhurried calm. Because when your timeline is forever, there's no rush. There's only the continuous, sustainable gathering of data and the accumulation of wisdom. You're no longer managing immediate crises. You're building a highly robust, predictive model for a life that simply never ends. So, transitioning from isolating those individual words to synthesizing the overall meaning, this brings us to a massive question. How on earth do we balance the immediate with the infinite? Think of this like portfolio management. If you lean way too far into tomorrow, you become reckless, burning all your capital and resources for a momentary thrill. But if you lean too far into forever, you become completely passive, over-preparing for a life you never actually inhabit. The absolute genius of the text is that it forces an equilibrium.
If we define these concepts strictly based on the temporal weight assigned to them, we get this incredible dichotomy. Living is defined here as immediate risk assessment, urgent, uncompromised presence. It has no future. Learning, on the flip side, is defined as predictive modeling, an infinite, sustainable pursuit of knowledge. It has no end. The text doesn't actually tell us what to do or what to learn. It entirely bypasses the content of our actions and instead dictates the timeline of our portfolio. And this brilliantly illustrates how unbreakable the architecture is. Live is hardwired to the short-term volatility of tomorrow. Learn is inextricably linked to the long-tail horizon of forever. You simply cannot mix up your risk models here. You can't learn as if you were to die tomorrow, because there's no point in cramming for a test if the world is ending. And you can't live as if you were to live forever, because then you just take absolutely everything for granted. The mapping is precise, intentional, and, honestly, brilliant. When you look at it through this structured lens, you start to realize we can frame this quote not just as inspiring poetry, but as a deliberate, two-step operational procedure for balancing a human life. Step 1, accept the absolute finality of tomorrow to mitigate the risk of an unlived today. Step 2, embrace the endlessness of forever to unlock infinite sustainable curiosity. It's basically an operating system for the human mind, coded right into 2 simple sentences. Let's quickly summarize the distilled elements we've extracted. We are left with a perfectly hedged portfolio of existence. We have urgent action, balanced perfectly against infinite curiosity. We've got the highest possible mortal stakes, balanced against a calm, eternal perspective. The burning core of the present moment balanced against the cool, endless horizon. It is an absolute masterpiece of semantic engineering and risk management. So the crucial point is, we return right back to where we started. The exact same 14 words. Live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever. But now, you possess a much deeper, far more nuanced appreciation for the mechanics of this paradox. You can actually see the friction between immediate action and infinite modeling, that vast, calculated chasm between tomorrow and forever. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. We've spent this whole explainer living in the abstract, deconstructing the semantics through an analytical lens. But let's ground this in your immediate personal reality. If your tomorrow and your forever started right now, what is the very first thing you would do? How would you manage the burning risk of today? And what predictive models are you going to build for the rest of time? Keep that balanced tension alive in your mind. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, Focus Learners. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.